We start off in the year 2029. Children are being used as prototypes for different kinds of prosthetics. Some of them improve their vision, some of them have new legs or even arms. As we look outside of the facility, we see a child jumping off the window. As she appears to crash into the ground, she lands perfectly and starts running away. While she is running away, no one chases her. The climate is pleasant and the surrounding people are too. Two children are holding hands. She tries to say hi, but they appear to be inactive. She gives up and continues her journey. She goes through a tunnel full of flowers and finds a girl in a wheelchair. As she approaches her, the girl gets up off her chair and starts walking with a little struggle. She trips and falls, and once in the ground, the first girl, the one who we have been following, comes closer and lends her hand, showing that she wants to help her. The wheelchair girl hesitates at first, but with a smile, she accepts her help and gets up. Now, in the present, the police are investigating multiple cases occurring in the port. That's when we meet Major Kusanagi, who is being assigned to the most important case of them all. We learn that Major is actually a robot, an Aya, and she has to pass an interview before starting her work as a detective. While normally her kind would be put to work immediately, new legislations and rules make this job more complicated. We learn that after a great war, the whole world was changed. The war gave a boost in all the development in cybernetic and IAS. The fear of humanity now is that these machines will rise, as the current government doesn't have the computing power necessary to keep all the data of these machines at bay. Some of these rebels called himself the global economy and tried to destabilize the economic systems all through the world. We see attempts of this as there are a lot of cyber brain operatives attempting to destroy a police station. While a lot of these systems are operating at a place above the law, they are still taken care of by the governments of the world. Major is part of these organizations. We then see what appears to be the beginning of a raid in one of the centers of data storage of humanity. Major now has full responsibility for what happens in this scene as her internet ends and she gets the job. Now in her helicopter, Major finds herself right next to an old adversary, Kana, who just like her came right out of an interview, but hers is with the military. Her plan is to institute the military into everyday operations and stop the conflicts with the police. Major squads are called the Ghost, now interconnected in a lobby on the internet. They plan how to deal with the situation in an embassy. Rebel soldiers have taken hostages and reject their ranks as they are being downgraded. The teams discuss their tactics and use of reinforcement, but Major assures them that they don't need it. Her team alone can do it. That's when we meet the rookie, one of the latest auditions to the squad, and who is still in his original body as this is his first job. The rest of the squad is made from scraps and experience in the form of metal. In the scene, the owner of the embassy wants help desperately, but all possible teams don't want to help them. The people performing the kidnapping were part of the military, and the rest of them just didn't want to eliminate their own people. That's when Major shows up on the screen of the owner. He is not happy to see her. He knows they operate outside international laws, but since it's his only option, the Ghost will be the ones handling the situation. Major then jumps out of her helicopter and rushes to the scene. Using hacking and a special system called domination, she intercepts the vision of her opponents, giving her a slight advantage, enough for her to get in the building and start picking off the rebels. As she promises to keep everyone alive, Major has to do her best to not hurt the individuals in their head, but instead use her hacking in their neck in order to incapacitate them. She gets through the first line of defense easily and reaches the first hostages. Simultaneously, the sniper from the Ghost shoots the hand of the one kidnapper that had a trigger. The kidnappers left bombs all over the hostages just in case something went wrong. Right as this one loses his hand, a huge camouflaged mech bursts out of the wall to incapacitate the rest of the soldiers with gas, and even a second mech appears and takes down some of the soldiers. The both mech start surrounding the hostages in order for them to not get caught in the crossfire between the soldiers and the Ghost team. The team keeps going and tries to get to the main objective, securing the high-ranking officers that were in a panic room. The panic room is being hacked and is too difficult to get in. Major rushed to the scene only to find that no one was actually hacking the doors. Their man monitoring also lost signal for a second and found out that there is a 12th person in the scene that they didn't account for. As they move in, they find that the hackers were eliminated, and that the same guy that they previously put down is actually up and tries to attack them. This soldier is actually larger than the rest of them and stronger, but appears to be out of control, as he only uses brute strength to get to Major. In the main hall, the rest of the team are freeing the hostages and catching the soldiers, but they also notice that they are one man short. Before they could react, 3 of the hostages grabbed weapons and started shooting the soldiers. The team tries to stop them, but their cyber brain is corrupted and they need to administer a virtual vaccine. All in the while, Major is fighting against the other corrupted Marine. They finally spot the 12 people in the scene, and Major gives permission to shoot him down. The sniper finds him, but to his surprise, the guy is actually an exact copy of the Major wearing a red outfit. In the meantime, the adversary of Major Kana is helping investigate the case with the Prime Minister. As the Minister gets a package that only he can open, Kana notices something is off, and before she could do anything, the Prime Minister opens the package and the building explodes. Once the sniper realizes that Major is the one causing all the fuss, He panics, and as he does so, he gets shot in the ear by some other sniper on the other side of the building. In the main hall, the ghost team managed to take the weapons from the civilian away and put them to sleep, but the damage was already done. The civilian completely eliminated all the soldiers, leaving no trace to follow from this crime. Once Major fights and wins against the bigger soldier, his head opens up and they find out it's actually a false cyber. Inside of his head there was nothing, and he was just a remote control puppet. That's when the owner finds out about the bombing and the eternal sleep of the Prime Minister. Major rushes off the building only to see a huge fire on the other side of the city from the torn building that was set on fire. This was the first attempt and success in eliminating a Prime Minister in the history of the city. On the slabs where all the cyber are left after they are gone, Major comes to see the body of Kana. While they were not the greatest of friends, she had a great respect for her and wants to bring justice to her. Using a simulator linked between the different detectives and the chief of police, they start investigating the possible reason for the explosion. All the squad members start their next operation, finding out what happened to the Prime Minister. The whole operation and kidnapping were of the same source, and Major suspects that they are more connected than they seem. Major runs into the advisor that she had an interview with before. The man explains that the body of the minister is unrecognizable, and that all of their effort to find any trace of anything was futile. Apparently, he was none other than the son of the minister and now felt remorse for not seeing it coming. Major then explains that most of his memory was lost, as the explosive was massive and the remains did not contain any useful data. One important thing that the advisor tells Major is that there was some missing directive that the minister gave to him, but the signal got lost for a second and he couldn't get it. Maybe if they find this missing link, they can have some kind of clue of what is behind the attack. Once they arrive at their destination, the advisor tries to ask Major out on a dinner, but she refuses as she claims that they aren't a restaurant that serves her kind. As Major is about to take her bike, a mysterious figure starts taking pictures of her. Major gets to a factory where they develop the best of the best in cyber prosthetics. She interrogates the worker drone in order Kana to get some information on. The drone explains that she was with the Prime Minister to promote a deal that would delay the improvement in cybernetics, so they won't hit a dead end in enhancement, as most of the next generation cyborgs would be almost perfect and this would benefit the market so much. As for the rest of the team, they managed to find a data researcher that stores all the dying wishes of soldiers. The cyborg still had the data of all the soldiers that were in the scene and they managed to collect most of them. Through him, they find out that their squad leader was a man not involved in the crime and that was still missing. Major attempts to find out something from the director of the same factories, for she gets nothing, and even worse, the 501, the old squad of Kana, doesn't want anything to do with her. They threaten to destroy her if she gets any closer to the case, as they want to be the ones that bring justice to Kana. Through the research made in the lab, the hacker of the squad finds out that there is a precedent to this case. Back in the day, a scientist developing prosthetics and his wife were kidnapped and then found in the middle of the road. The factory in which he worked then refused to give the bodies away and keep them for research. Major then goes to the place where she grew up, the very same place we saw in a flashback at the beginning. There she starts interrogating some of the children to see if anyone knew her old friend. All of them knew her, as she was very active in finding those kinds of futures. Before she passed away, she left a message for everyone. Major then sees the messages, all of them talking about their duties and also about a third world. The children then explain that it basically was the heaven for all cyber brains, believed to be a place of pure data that only they could be in. Apparently, they found the last message from the minister, also stating that he got a gift from the third world. Using the same data of the last moments of the minister, they managed to reconstruct the scene of the explosion. In there, they find out that there was a small camera in the room, and that's when they noticed that they were being followed. All the teams deploy decoy to trap the people following them and sending them to their center of operations. There they talk to Akiyama, the leader of a section specialized in the treaties of international affairs. He explains that they were following her, but not her as Major, but actually a doppelganger that has her same body. As they could be certain of anything, they also started following Major as a precaution. He later explains that he had the same information as them. The squad leader of the team of soldiers was likely the first to get into contact with this alternate Major and get infected by her virus. But there was also another who knew her, the Vice Prime Minister. The team then go to find her and interrogate her. As they do, they find out that indeed some of her actions were orchestrated by the virus, but they are not directly linked to the murder. They track down the evil Major to an abandoned ship that appears to still be functioning even though it went missing. Majo manages to infiltrate it and steal its data, but it's a trap. The whole squad fights to get out and many get injured. After finding out the plans, Major decided to leave her squad behind, as they could be in danger. She disbands them and leaves them recommendation letters so they can do whatever they want. Major disappeared, but the team is still doing research. They managed to find out that the cyborg that helped them get the last wishes of the soldiers was actually the squad leader, who has been brainwashed and implanted with false memories. The evil Major had infected both sides of the war. She orchestrated a deal with the American, but also with the other side. Once they got the body of the missing squad leader, the memories of him helped corroborate this. Major now goes to find the advisor, son of the minister. The advisor did not recall any events of the bombing, and that because he too was infected. He was the one that delivered the bomb to his father. Major makes one more stop, to the morgue where Kana was left. She destroys her head only to find out that she too was an empty vessel remote controlled. And now everything makes sense. Kana, with the children of the orphanage, were the ones behind this. Major goes to the main server where all data is stored. She confronts the virus since she now knows how to find it. There, she encounters the twins from her childhood. They attempt to shut her down and destroy her backup servers. Down to her last Major fights now with the members of the 501, who also were a part of Kana's plans. She was surrounded and was almost eliminated, but luckily her team was there to protect her and send her to a safe space. Once she recovers, she confronts the virus once again and now wins. In the meantime, her team fights off the 501 who tracked them and wants to eliminate Major. Once defeated, they arrest the owner of the robotics factory that helped Kana and find the evil Major. After a battle, Major beats her and uses her data to find Kana. She finds out that Kana was actually the little girl that helped her and delivered the messages. As she can't walk, she always used remote bodies to do her will. As she now doesn't mean any threat, Major leaves her to go to the third world and find peace. As her last act, Major eliminates the traitor that helped Kana make all of his corrupted deals, as he would never go to jail. This was the best way to get justice.